In 2019 comes another retro motorcycle from the Triumph lineup, the Speed Twin. You guys already know the formula, retro looking on the outside with a completely modern motorcycle on the inside. Triumph has really outdone themselves in the fit and finish quality, and the details and parts which look not so pleasing on other motorcycles looks like have been made by a sculptor here. The Speed Twin badge on the handlebars, the headlight structural bracket, and the engine to exhaust head connections are my personal favorite bits. Take a step back to admire the beauty, and you have proportions of a chiseled down scrambler made by some high-end mod shop than a full factory design. It's got twin analog and digital hybrid console that shows a lot of information and even lets you switch off the traction control if needed. There are 3 riding modes as well. At the heart of the action, there is a 1200cc twin-cylinder motor, the same as the Thruxton R, but in this high-performance version, it makes 5 horsepower more, making it 96 horsepower, and the torque is massive at 112 Newton meters at 4,950 RPM. Dual 305mm discs from Brembo take care of the braking at front. However, the 4-piston calipers are axially mounted and not radially as found in some of the superbikes. The rear 220mm disc also plays a key role in braking in a motorcycle that is almost 50-50 weight distribution with a low and central center of gravity. The 41mm Kyaba forks up front have a cartridge kit in it to give it that retro look and feel, but they're quite good, and the only downside is that they're non-adjustable. The twin KYB shocks on the rear are preload adjustable only, and let's just say I prefer motor shocks. Beyond all the retroness comes in the modern bits like cast aluminum 17-inch wheels, an engine weight reduction with a lighter battery with a minimalist body design which helps save 10 kg from the Thruxton R and making this bike a truly lightweight motorcycle in the retro segment. Pirelli Diablo Rosso 3 are always there for sport bike-like performance. I was already impressed with the looks and the specs, but it was time to put the motorcycle on road and see how it performed. Before we start this review, I would like to thank Mukesh Triumph for providing us this motorcycle for a complete road test. You can check out all the Triumph motorcycles. They have a lot of demo bikes, so they'll give you test drives. And if you want to book, just call the number on screen and let them guide you and help you out. Riding any retro bike, my concern always remains with the handling. How much did we compromise in order to give this bike the full retro look? Early morning we tried some low speed corners. The bike is a little bit tricky to set into the corner, but once you put it in, it reasonably sticks to the line. Yes, it's not the most flickable, and that is expected from a 1200cc motor. However, as we started pushing it hard, some issues popped up. The bike has to be very carefully put into the corner. Late braking and what I would do on a typical naked bike can get it off course. I kind of blame the dual rear shocks for this. However, on the high speed, long sweeping corners, the motorcycle felt immensely better. Here it was easier setting up the bike for the corner, and the out of the corner acceleration was insane. I was using the road mode, which I liked out of the 3 rider modes. Sometimes hard acceleration out of the corners seemed to slide out the rear end. I feel the frame is still slightly underprepared for the massive low end torque that this bike offers, but that kind of adds to the thrill of riding, as the bike has to be managed carefully. Mid-corner course correction and such adventure is better left off for the more sporty variants. Agreed that I saw speeds of over 140 km per hour on long sweeping corners, but the rider must tread carefully with this motorcycle. A major reason of buying a retro bike over the sporty variant may be the everyday livability, and yes, for that we rode it in the city. U-turns are surprisingly easy, and though the front end is hard, it can handle a bit of rough patch on the road. There is no escaping the heat from the 1200cc motor, but at least it's liquid cooled. Dodging traffic is managed by surprising ease. and the higher wide handlebars do come in handy. Of course, the 6th gear goes to 100 km per hour at only 3,500 RPM, and that means a complete disregard to city speed limits. The motorcycle is deceptively fast, and even cruising at 130 to 140 km per hour doesn't stress out the engine one bit. The motorcycle was happily to go to a top speed of over 200 km per hour with eagerness and ease, and had we got some more room, I believe it could have gone further. The retro looks shouldn't fool you. The beast inside is very real, and I experienced some power wheelies. Amongst the sweetest twin-cylinder sound and the excitement of the torque, accelerating on the Speed Twin is a lot of fun. However, going fast has its consequences, and sometimes brakes are the only barrier between you and that crash. Apparently, Triumph took this very seriously. The front end has that Mammoth bite which I miss on many of today's sport bikes and naked bikes, but the rear also adds in a soft, progressive support system, and I do recommend you use it. They slow down the bike without any drama and gave me a lot of confidence to push this bike, knowing that I can slow down whenever I want. The Speed Twin does everything in comfort, both for the rider and the pillion. The foot pegs are directly below the waist, making the most comfortable riding position for the legs. The seat height is a bit low, but there is enough room for taller rider. The ground clearance is what's scaring me because of the low seat height, but we did check that it does not escape any speed breakers, and that too even with a 70 kg pillion. The handlebars are right at the perfect height and maybe just slightly lean forward for the rider. I was really comfortable on the wide and cushy seat, and to be honest, just add a windshield and I'm happy to cruise on this bike all day long. So it's been a hectic ride, and the bike had some mud splashes because yesterday we rode it in some wet conditions, got the bike washed up, did the cinematics. Now we're ready for the conclusion. Yesterday rode the bike in traffic. Yes, it does heat up. It's a 1200cc twin cylinder motor, so that's about to happen. It's liquid cooled, so the heating is still manageable, and in bumper to bumper traffic you feel it as soon as you start pulling away. Go anywhere about 40 or 50 kilometers per hour, the heating dissipates. Now this is the absolute peak of summer that we have tested the bike. Even in today we get some traffic conditions, and yes, one of the only big bikes that has heating, but it's still manageable. You can do it. It won't be very comfortable, but I've seen other bikes in this segment, they absolutely fry your legs. For everyday rideability, yeah, it's a smaller bike. It looks bigger, it has a very nice fit and finish, but when you ride it, it's so small and easy to ride. Lower seat height for intermediate riders, beginner riders, or even shorter riders will find it very easy to approach to. The handlebars are bigger, so in the tightest of U-turns you find it easy. You don't have to hassle with this bike. Not very heavy. They have reduced 10 kilograms from the Triumph Thruxton, which makes it overall a very nice package, and the ergonomics have been made very friendly. No more rear set foot pegs. You sit on it, it's a very natural position. All day riding and cruising are absolutely possible. So this is like buying a bigger bike, not just for the retro looks. This is buying a bigger bike for the practicality of two-up touring, of having a pillion rider who's normal sized, or having a pillion rider who's going to do 500 kilometers with you on the pillion seat in a single day. If you look at the Triumph Street Triple S, that's maybe another 15 horsepower more and a few kgs lighter, but that will not be so comfortable, especially if you're thinking about touring, and especially if you're thinking about touring with your significant other. Fit and finishing and everything, small little detail, Triumph has done an excellent job. If you look at the rear, it's like they have crafted it specifically, like they put a tail tidy right from the factory. If you look at the fuel tank, that's lockable, but they've put on a cap on top of it, making it look like retro back then when you didn't have to lock your fuel tank and nobody stole your fuel. Remember the good days? I don't. I wasn't born then. But anyways, traction control and all of that is a little bit behind the Ducati Scrambler, which is its main competition, but at least it makes 10 bhp more or 8 bhp more than the Ducati Scrambler 1100. It makes way more torque as well, but yeah, electronics wise Ducati still has an advantage. Out of the corner acceleration, yeah, there is so much low end torque, and the suspension or the frame seems to be stressed with it, so it's kind of twitchy, the rear end's moving outwards, and they have increased the wheelbase to give the bike a little bit more stability, but still it needs to improve a little bit more, especially on the cornering side. Cornering entry and cornering exit both can be improved, but the mid corner stability of pushing through that line is absolutely glorious. We've got some amazing corners through this bike, and yeah, this, despite being a big bike, you can twist it with it, but it's not one of the most flickable bikes. I've ridden the Street Twin that was way more flickable, a lot lighter, lot less power, agreed, but a lot more flickable as well. There are some negatives. There is vibration in the lower RPMs. This being a twin has to be vibrating more than the triple cylinder Triumphs, but the bar and mirrors are too small and they do vibrate, so not very practical mirrors. I found the mirrors, bar and mirrors on the Street Triple RS to be much better, and that bike doesn't vibrate, so maybe it helped the cause. The stand, the side stand is too small while wearing riding boots. I cannot put them down. That I did not like, and I've already complained about the handling, the certain small issues that there are, but for long sweeping corners you definitely don't feel it. We got 140 on long sweeping corners, so yeah, for highway ride and where you're taking it, if you're not pushing it through like very tight, twisty, canyon riding conditions, you should be fine. You would never see the flaws of this bike, and like I said, it's very practical. For India, might be engine heating is an issue, but for a lot of countries where the summer temperatures don't go to 48, 50 or 40 plus all the time, living this bike on a day-to-day basis is going to be a breeze. It's going to be comfortable, and at the same time it's going to give you so much power. You look at the bike, it doesn't look that much powerful, but then when you open the throttle, this ain't cruiser. This is having a serious punch. So yeah, if you're a rider like me, you would probably go for the Triumph Street Triple S, which is a few thousand rupees more expensive than this, but it's good that Triumph's giving the option, and based on your riding style you can either go for the Triumph Street Triple S, or if you're more into the cruising, or if you're more into touring and you still like the retro feel and be more comfortable, you don't care about cornering, but you care about comfort. For that kind of a guy, you cannot beat the Triumph Speed Twin. The competition, I have not ridden the BMW R90, but I have ridden the Ducati Scrambler. Definitely better cornering entry and corner exit. Out of the corner acceleration is better, but power is lesser. Yeah, that bike does have better electronics package. The electronics is a little bit more detailed, gives you more options. But this bike, looks wise, it has the authentic retro feel. That is kind of like a mixture of the modern retro. It completely depends on what you want. Power wise, obviously this, fun to ride, both are fun to ride. Very refined bike as it is, probably a little bit more than the Ducati, and I am overall very satisfied because the speeds we got on this got up to a couple of 100 kilometers without any problems. So yeah, there's a lot of performance. You want performance, but maybe you're maturing up a little bit and you want comfort. You've got both on the Triumph Speed Twin. So go check it out, take a test drive.
In conclusion, I must say that the Triumph Speed Twin checks out a lot of boxes for a fun yet rider-friendly motorcycle. The Street Twin was the most easy to ride premium motorcycle that I had ever ridden, so Triumph has developed on the Street Twins platform and gave this one a powerful punch without alienating the shorter riders with taller seat heights or excessive complexities. In essence, it's a simple motorcycle to just forget about everything and enjoy the ride. I just wish it had a bigger fuel tank so we could forget about refueling and just sit on it and ride off into the sunset worry free and with that sweet sound of motor underneath us. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you like this review, hit on that subscribe button, watch a few other reviews, and thanks for watching once again. See you very soon. This is Rahul. Goodbye.